Hi guys, Alexandra here. A long time no see. Sorry I've been gone for a little bit, but it's for a very good reason because I've been working on this video right here, which I've had hundreds of requests for. So here it is. We're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty of brushes today. All right, so I started making this video yesterday and I came to the realization that there was no way to fit it all into one video no matter how hard I tried. So I have broken this up into two parts. So this video is all about brushes, just brushes in general. We're gonna talk about the types of brushes, how to tell if you're buying a good brush or not, the best ways to go about purchasing brushes, must-have brushes, nice-to-have brushes, care for your brushes. So all of that, just brushes in general, okay? So that's what this video is. And then the second video is going to be all about eye brushes, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions on those and which ones to get and which ones are worth having and not. And we're gonna talk about all of that. So there was, like I said, no way to do this in one video without making it super long, and I didn't want to do that to you guys, so we broke it up into two. And then at the end of the eye brush video, I will give you guys my favorite brushes along with some great brush buys right now, some really good companies that are out that are making some very affordable brushes that you guys are absolutely just going to love. So pour yourselves a drink, fluff your pillows, and get ready because we are getting down into brushes today. All right, welcome back, you guys. As I said, we're gonna talk all about brushes today. I mean, we're just gonna get down in it deep. I really put my foot knee deep into this subject for you guys because I wanted to make sure it was as detailed as possible, to break it down as simply as possible, because I know we have a lot of beginners out there. And if for some odd reason I don't answer anyone's questions, because I know a lot of you guys have a ton of them, please feel free to comment down below. You guys know I am here for you. All right, so let's get down into it. The first thing we want to talk about are the types of brushes, because every brush out there falls into one of two types. And if they don't fall into one or the other category, they basically fall smack dab in the middle. And I will explain that here in just a second. So the first type is going to be your synthetic brushes, okay? And then the second type is going to be your natural brushes. Now, if they don't fall into one or the other, they fall in the middle, which means that they have a combination of the both. And a lot of brush companies are doing that nowadays, where they have a combination of synthetic and natural bristles in them. So if you are very PETA oriented or vegan, I would definitely make sure you do your homework on whatever company you are buying a brush from, because again, there are a lot of companies that are making combo brushes. All right, so the first one we want to talk about is the synthetic type brushes. Okay, so those are going to be your man-made materials. It's going to be your nylon, your polyester, okay? A lot of times they can be dyed to look like natural brushes, so you'll see ones that are, you know, a brownish color or a cream color. You'll even see ones that are like white, plasticky looking. It just really depends on the brand that you buy, okay? All right, so synthetic brushes, because they are man-made materials, they are a lot less expensive than those natural brushes, okay? They're also a lot easier to clean and wash because they don't have any coating over the little hairs, the bristles. They don't have those porous materials. So again, they're a lot easier to clean. They don't stain as easily as a natural brush does, and they also don't shed nearly as much. Natural brushes just shed. It's just part of it. As long as you're taking care of your synthetic brush, it shouldn't really shed at all if it is a quality brush, okay? And again, it's all about that care too, okay? All right, as far as application goes, synthetic brushes really work great for any kind of cream or liquid products. So, you know, your foundations, your like really creamy, liquidy concealers, things like that, that's where those synthetic brushes really work the best with, okay? Like I said, they don't stain, they don't soak up the product like a natural brush does, okay? And they also, their bristles lay more flat and closely together, whereas a natural brush kind of tends to be a lot fluffier, okay? So again, they work best with those foundations and cream and liquid products, okay? Synthetics are, like I said, completely man-made, of course, so they are absolutely cruelty-free and vegan-friendly. All right, now let's talk about those natural brushes, because you're listening to all this and I'm sure you're like, okay, they're less expensive, they don't shed, you know, they don't do this, this, and this, they clean easier. Why would I want a natural brush, Alex? Like, why would I want a natural brush? Well, let me explain it to you. Okay, so of course you've heard all the cons about natural brushes. So they do shed, all right, and they do stain a little bit easier. They are a little harder to clean, and they are more expensive. Natural brushes are usually made out of animal hair and fur from animals like boars, squirrels, goats, sables, things like that, okay? Now, the animal hairs, when they're put into a brush, they do go through a very rigorous process of being cleaned and everything else, and taken care of to where hopefully, you know, you won't have any problems with them. But if you have any kind of allergies to animals, I would definitely stay away from natural brushes as much as possible, because you can still have some kind of a reaction, even though, like I said, they do get sanitized, but there's still the chance. So definitely stay away from them. But natural brushes are really good for holding pigment, okay? These are the brushes that you are gonna want for those eyeshadows and to get those one payoff strokes, okay? And the reason being is because those natural brushes, okay, they have a tiny little hair that on the hair follicle, you know, it's a living thing, okay? So with that, it's got little tiny porous holes at the end of the bristle, or at the end of the little hair, okay? And so when you dip that brush down into that product, it's just gonna soak it up and collect that product, okay? And then again, you're gonna get those 1 and 2 stroke pay off strokes and swipes, okay? So they're really, really good for that. They're really great for pigments, any kind of powders. So, you know, highlighters, if you want, you know, one big swipe and just to have it, bam, that's what they're good for, okay? They are good for those powdery, pigmented, products, okay? So that's what you want it for. Almost every single one of my eye brushes are natural brushes, okay? Again, for that reason, they're a little more expensive, and also for that reason, that's why people still use natural brushes. That's why they're so big out in the makeup industry and the beauty community, and that's why so many people love them, is because you just can't get that from a synthetic brush, okay? So, all right, that is breaking down the 2 types of brushes. If you guys have any questions about either one of these, definitely feel free to comment down below. But for now, we're gonna move on to the next subject. All right, now this is one question that I know a lot of you guys have and have asked me, and this is one of the reasons why you wanted this video, which is how to tell if you are buying a good makeup brush. Okay, so basically what you want to do when you are purchasing a makeup brush, if they have them available for you to touch and feel and that kind of thing, you want to, first thing, you want to rub it across your skin. Okay, you're looking for a few things. How does it feel? Is it soft? Okay, because that's super important. You don't want something that's scratchy or coarse feeling. You want something that's soft and just glides across the skin very smoothly. Another thing is you want to test the strength of a brush. Kind of pull on it a little bit, you know, not hard, but just a little bit, and see, does anything come out from that brush, okay? Is there any kind of little strands pulling out or anything like that? Because if there are, then it's probably not a great brush, okay? So definitely test its strength, okay? A good brush is made up of nice, soft, poofy, you know, little bristles, and then a very sturdy handle, okay? A good makeup brush basically should also be like it's shapely, okay? You want it to shape to your face in some way, whatever area you're using this for, you want the shape to be correct for that. It also should apply and blend very smoothly and evenly when it is transferring that makeup onto your skin. And you also want a brush that is going to really transfer that product without losing a bunch of product. So when you dip into it, it shouldn't, there shouldn't be a bunch of fallout, okay? And some, you guys know, some shadows, some powders, things like that should just have fallout. But, you can tell though a good brush, because like I can dip this brush into certain powders and shake it and not have anything, but then I can pull out something like this and have a lot. Like I can dip this into a powder and be like, and it just powder goes everywhere. So, again, that's the difference between a good brush and a bad brush, okay? Not to say that this is a bad brush, this is not great for that, okay? So again, it should transfer the product very seamlessly without losing a bunch of product. And then also, like if you're dealing with liquids, it should not soak up a lot of the product, okay? It should, again, transfer it to your skin from whatever you're taking it from into, it should transfer very seamlessly. So that is what you want to look for when you are buying brushes. Okay, now when you are buying brushes, I know we all get so tempted. We see those brush kits where it's like everything you need in an eye kit for $12.95 or 20 eye brushes for $35.64 or whatever, okay? Or, contour galore for $12.95. Okay, stay away from that, okay? It's kind of a coax to get you to buy these other brushes that you don't really need. The best way to buy brushes is a la carte, okay? So separately. All right, and the reason being is because everybody needs something different. And let me give you a perfectly good example. So I have hooded eyes, okay? So where I have a hooded eye, all right, I want more of a flat blending brush, okay? Do you see how that's kind of flat there on one side? And the reason being is because that fits up underneath that hood, all right, and helps me blend my shadows without getting it all the way up to here, okay? Whereas if I use something like this, and I'll show you the difference here, so you see how that one's flatter and this one's not. So when I use something like this that's just big and fluffy, it's gonna get it everywhere. But that's what I need because I have hooded eyes. Now, not everybody has hooded eyes. So somebody who doesn't have hooded eyes, this would be more appropriate, okay? So again, it really depends on what you need. And as you start applying your makeup regularly, you really figure out what you use regularly and what you don't, and what you will need and what you won't need. So I would definitely start out just getting a little here and a little there and getting one brush at a time, okay? And I know it's hard sometimes because you see those kits and you're like, oh, but it's got all the favorites of all the YouTubers. I know, honey, but seriously, they don't have the same shape of a face that you do, and they don't have the same issues that you do, and they don't need the same things that you do. So that might be somebody else's favorite, but it might not be yours. And that also brings me to reviews. Again, make sure you definitely read reviews because they are important, but I've read reviews before and somebody say that that was like the worst brush ever, and it ended up being perfect for what I needed it for, okay? So we all have different needs. So definitely keep that in mind when you are reading those reviews and when you are purchasing brushes. All right, guys, now let's talk about your must-have brushes versus your nice-to-have brushes, because as we all know, we all want to definitely grow our brush collection, but which ones do you really need first and which ones do you not really need? So this opinion really varies on preference, on what kind of makeup look you're doing and what you're using, but I will go through each one of your must-haves first. Okay, so the first thing is definitely you are gonna need either a foundation brush or a beauty blender. Again, you guys know, we've talked about this before, you know my opinion on this. It really depends on the foundation that you're using and what kind of overall finish you want to achieve at the end of it, depending on whether you go with a foundation brush or a Beauty Blender, and I will link down below the Foundation 101 videos, part 1 and part 2, where we definitely get into all of that a lot more in depth, okay? All right, so that would be definitely a must-have. The second one is a kabuki brush. Now, again, you guys know my opinion on the kabuki brushes. If you are using a powder foundation, it's definitely a must-have, I feel like, for sure. But if you are not using it for a powder foundation, I definitely don't think it's a must-have. Now, a lot of people do feel like they are a must-have for bronzers. My opinion is different on that. I really don't think so, because there's a lot of different brushes you can use for bronzers that you probably already have in your collection. But again, it really depends on preference, okay? Another thing you definitely need to have in your collection for sure is a good powder brush. Now, a good powder brush should be very fluffy and just lightweight and just, you know. So this one is a great one. We got this in BoxyCharm, what was it, a month or two ago? This was the Estetica P12. I feel like this is just a great powder brush because a powder brush, like I said, it should be light and fluffy. It should not smudge or take off what you have applied on your face. It should be able to just pat that powder on there just very lightly and gently, just pat it on, and then after it's set, you know, you should be able to just sweep any excess away, again, without smudging or removing all that hard work that you just put on, okay? So powder brush, definitely a must-have. Another must-have is a blush brush. Now, again, this really depends on preference and what you guys like. A lot of people say an angled blush brush is a must-have. I kind of disagree. I feel like a duo blush brush is really a must-have. The reason being is because a lot of times with blush, people put on way too much. Also, a lot of blushes are very pigmented, so a duo fiber brush really works great for that because it's got two different fibers in it. That's why it's called a duo fiber brush. And this one that we got from Estetica, the 516, or not Estetica, I'm sorry, Luxie, the 516 Luxie Duo Fiber Brush. This one's a great one. I feel like everybody should have in their collection. The reason being is because it just fits that cheek so perfectly. You can do a little side sweep if you just want a little bit, or if you want more of a full, you can go like that. It really hugs that cheekbone very nicely. And again, it's a duo fiber brush, so it's not going to put on nearly as much, okay? And if you have something that's super pigmented, this is really what you want to go for. So I feel like this is definitely a must-have in everybody's collection. But again, some people like the angled blush brushes. It really just depends on your preference, okay? Another brush that a lot of people say is a must-have, and let me see if I can find mine real fast. Oh, there it is a concealer brush. Now, you all, again, know my opinion on this. I don't really feel like this is a must-have. I feel like this is more of a nice-to-have. I have went for years without a concealer brush. Unless you're doing a lot of cut creases, eye looks, or some really clean eye looks, and you're using something like the MAC Ochre Paint Pot or something like that, I really don't feel like this is a must-have. Now, if you have like a really big nostrils and you really need something to kind of get down in between there, okay, maybe then it's a must-have. It just really, again, depends on what your needs are, okay? But for me, this is a nice to have. Okay, this is a must-have, so we're gonna get a little bit into eyeshadow brushes for a second, and these are just must-haves, okay? So you definitely need an all-over eyeshadow brush, and let me see. Basically, you can do a majority of looks with an all-over eyeshadow brush, okay? And it's just, you know, for putting on that, you know, that eyeshadow and placing it on there, and you know, you can also use these for blending. They just really work very well. They also work good sometimes for getting into that crease. It's just a really good staple to have in any eyeshadow brush collection, okay? Another really important one, I feel like this is just so important to have because you can do a majority of eye looks with this brush, and I've showed you guys this before in my looks tutorial, and this is a smudger brush. Sorry, it's got stuff on it because I used it earlier, but this is a smudger brush. It's just got very short, dense little bristles, and they're very packed very close together, and it usually has a very good edge, and this works really great for those smoky eyes, or like how I showed you guys to use it when you're blending those two across there. You know, if you're not really good at blending yet, this is just a staple to have. It's just fabulous. Okay, so this is definitely a must-have. Now, eyeliner brushes, I really feel like are a must-have, but again, it really depends on what you're needing it for. So a lot of people think that the angled eyeliner brush is a must-have. I don't really feel that way. It's a nice to have for me, but not a must-have. For me, a must-have is more of the thin eyeliner brush, and the reason being is because you can do pretty much any look with this brush. You can do a thin little line, or you can build it up if you want to go out and do a wing. You can draw it on and then go in between and color it in, whereas this is going to make a lot thicker of a stroke, okay? And you're only going to get one size line or bigger with this, where with this, you know, you can get everything in between, okay? So I feel like this is a staple, and this is kind of a nice to have. But again, it really depends on what kind of look you're trying to achieve, okay? And the last in the eye brushes that are a must-have is the lash brow comb brush combo. So if you are doing your eyebrows a lot, that is definitely a must-have for sure. It just helps you in so many ways. But if you're like me and your only problem is keeping your eyebrows tame and separate, I don't really feel like it's a must-have. Again, it just depends on what you're doing regularly, okay? And then lastly, now some people might not agree with this, but I feel like this is a must-have for me, especially if you are doing highlighter a lot. If you like highlighter a lot and you're doing it a lot, I feel like a fan brush is definitely a must-have, because that is gonna get you that very precise, you know, placement. It gives you a very sheer application of that highlighter. You can just do it in very precise areas, right down the nose, on the lips, you know, your Cupid's bow. Like, I can put my highlighter anywhere with this brush. I just love it. So the other thing is, this works great if you get if you already have your foundation, your concealer and everything on, and you did an eyeshadow look and you got a lot of fallout. This works great for brushing all of that little fallout out from underneath your eyes without smudging anything. So I feel like this is definitely a staple to have, again, if you're doing highlighter and stuff a lot. If not, it's a nice to have. All right, now let's talk about your nice to haves. Okay, so again, we have your concealer brush. That I feel like is a nice to have for sure. A contour brush, again, I feel like that's a nice to have, because here's the thing. If you get a beauty blender that has a contour edge on it, this works just as well, I feel like, if not better sometimes, than a contour brush. So a contour brush is really a nice to have more than it is a necessity, okay? Blending brushes, definitely nice to haves. Highlighter brushes, and of course the fan brush, again, depending on if you're doing it a lot. These are all nice to haves, not really must haves. Crease brushes, they're nice to haves, not must haves. Lip brushes are definitely a nice to have, not a must have. And let me just share this with you guys real quick. I have one, won't come out. I have one lip brush, as you can see right there, and I don't never use this on my lips, ever. I actually use this for doing the corners of my eyes, for putting that highlight right there in the corners. That's what I use this for more than anything else. I hardly ever use this for my lips. So I'm just saying, like, lip brushes are definitely not a must-have. All right, so let's move on to the next subject. All right, let's talk about cleaning those brushes, because as I said earlier, once you spend that money on a really good brush, you want to keep it clean as much as possible because you want it to stay nice. You don't want it to start shedding or having problems with it. So definitely you want to clean your brushes. Now, yesterday was National Clean Your Brush Day. I'm pretty sure. I saw a big thing on Sigma and everything else, which, by the way, I think Sigma is having a sale on their brush cleaning foams and accessories, and they really have some great brush cleaners and tools to clean your brushes and reshaping them and everything else. So definitely check them out, because Sigma, they are fantastic for that kind of stuff. But if you don't have a Sigma store near you, or don't like to order online, because I know I used to be that way, another great brush cleaner which I have is the Brush Bath by IT Cosmetics. I think this is at Ulta, and I don't know if they have it at Sephora or not, but I get it at Ulta. They usually have sales on it and stuff, and this just works really great for those, you know, once a week good, just great cleanings. Some people like to clean their brushes in the sink, and you can definitely use this to do that, but I will show you what I do. And I know you guys are thinking, well, you only clean your brush once a week, but you do so many different eye looks throughout the week. Let me explain. So I definitely recommend getting one of these. This is called a Clean Sweep Makeup Brush Pad, and I will open it up. It's got like a little spongy thing inside, which you can take this out and clean it. And basically what you want to do with this, and I'll show you real fast. So see how this has got like all this brown color, it's like, I think it was like a taupe color I used earlier, but anyways, so you take this and you just brush it on this brush pad, and basically what it does is it gets all of those little pigment, fallout, anything that's left on the brush, it kind of just takes that off of there. So like if you're in the middle of doing a look and you only have a couple of brushes, this works great. I swear by this thing, I'm telling you what. And this really works for switching in between those colors, and it gets a lot, like you can see where I really brushed it on that side and not so much on that side. Like, do you see how much cleaner that is? And then it like falls, all the little stuff, oops, see how it all falls in there? And then so you can clean this every once in a while. So, and then you can take this little sponge out and clean it too. So again, and you don't have to wet this thing, like you can leave it dry. Now when you clean it, obviously you'll want to wet it, but yeah, you just kind of do something like that, and it gets a majority of everything off of there. Okay, now if you're wanting to really clean your brush, all right, and again, I would do this about once a week. And now if you have acne or very sensitive skin, I would do it probably twice a week. But basically what I do is I just grab a paper towel, I put this on there, and I just kind of turn it and spray it just like so. And then you want to take this and swirl it around on the paper towel until the paper towel is white, till nothing comes off. So I just like move it over this area, that area, and I move it over here, and I just keep doing it. And then I also grab it and just not very hard, but I just pinch it together just to get anything that might have gotten down here to the bottom and force it to the top. And then again, swirl. Now, this has got kind of like a little bit of an oily feel, and it will leave your brushes kind of wet. So make sure you definitely let your brushes dry before you start dipping them into another pan. Now, if you don't have time to let it dry, trust me, I've been there. I actually just take a blow dryer, and I've done it 1,000 times. My daughter laughs at me, but I don't care. So yeah, when I get in a hurry and I really need to clean my brush, I will clean it and then take a blow dryer and, you know, run it over there for a few seconds, and it gets it nice and dry and clean, and you got a brand new brush again. Okay, so that is how I clean my brushes. Again, everybody's different. Some people like the foamy soaps. Again, Sigma has some really great ones for that, but this, I'll tell you what, you guys, I have gotten blues and greens out of this brush right here, which is a goat brush, and it is extremely hard to get greens and blues out of a natural hairbrush, like seriously, and I have done it. So I really love this stuff, and it's just great little staple to have in your collection. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for this video. Like I said, in our next one, we are going to be doing eyeshadow brushes 101. So we're going to be talking about all of the eyeshadow brushes, what they are for, and then at the end of it, my favorite brushes, along with some great brush companies that are out right now where you can purchase some really good and affordable brushes to build your brush sets up with, okay? So I hope everybody has an amazing day, and I will see you guys back here in a little bit.